Okay, good morning, Zev. We're up to Avodah Zarah, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Zayin. As a word of introduction, the general rule, the general halacha is that a Jew cannot remove the prohibited status. A Jew cannot remove the issur of something that an Oved Avodah Zarah made with the intention of worshiping it. However, if the object was not originally made with the kavanah, with the intention of worshiping it as an idol, but becomes prohibited later because of its connection with an idol, as we will see soon in the Mishnah, it may be possible for the prohibited status of the Avodah Zarah to be removed by a Jew. The general klal is that a Jew cannot remove the status of Avodah Zarah. Now, the Mishnah discusses three types of situations, addressing three objects: a house, a stone, and a tree. A house, a stone, and a tree, with regard to whether a Jew can make them permissible for benefit even after there was some connection to Avodah Zarah. So the Mishnah starts with a house. Shloisha botim, the three categories of houses that are prohibited because they were designated by an idolater for Avodah Zarah. A, Bayit Shabonui Mitchilal Avodah Zarah. The first category is a house that originally was built by an Oved Avodah Zarah to be worshipped as an idol. The total structure, the total house. Such a thing, such a house, Areza also, is completely forbidden because the idolater built it lechatchila to be worshipped as an idol. And therefore a Jew cannot remove such a prohibition. Meaning to say that if an idolater makes an object with an intention of worshiping it, it becomes also behano, even if it was never worshipped. If he just had the intention for it to be in Avodah Zarah. And therefore this house, which was built specifically to be worshipped as an idol, becomes immediately also. The second category of bais is Avodah Zarah. The second category is if a house was originally built as a dwelling, but then came an Avodah Zarah and lived in it and plastered it, or made decorative images in it, or put all sorts of tchotchkes in it, with the intention of worshipping it as an idol. V'chidesh, or very simply, he added something to it with the intention of worshipping that new part to it as a Zorah. So the halacha is noitel mashachidesh. The halacha is, says the Mishnah, that a Jew may remove whatever the idolater added, and he may then benefit from the house. Again, to understand, because the house was not originally built as an Avodah Zarah, it does not become also until it is actually worshipped. So the additions to the house, on the other hand, which were made originally with the intention that they should be worshipped as Avodah Zarah, along with the house, and therefore they become forbidden immediately. What becomes forbidden immediately? The additions, the tchotchkes, the decorative images he put in, they become also immediately. They can never become a mutar for the Jew. But a Jew, therefore, may not live in this house as long as those additions are there, because you would be benefiting from them. But once those additions are removed, once they're out, the Jew can have benefit from this house, which originally had nothing to do with Avodah Zarah, only the additions. And then the third category of house is, says the Mishnah, Avodah Zarah. The third, which is the less severe category, is if a house was originally built as a dwelling. A house was built with no connection, association at all with Avodah Zarah. And an idolater put an idol into it to make it a temporary house of worship. And vehoitzia, and he then removed the idol. The house is permitted because it was never permanently designated for idolatry. Again, to explain better, in this case, no change was made to the house, and it was not permanently designated for Avodah Zarah, and it is therefore entirely permitted. No yisur to it. Remove whatever was put in, and everything is fine from here on in. Nevertheless, the Chachamim required that the idol be removed, since the house looks like it's an accessory to the idol. But if, however, the house is designated as a permanent house of worship and used at least once for that purpose, the halacha is that it's considered an actual accessory to the idol and is not permitted without the actual nullification of the Avodah Zarah by the idolater. Then simply removing it is not sufficient. Continues the Mishnah to the second category. The second category are stones. Sholosh avonim heim. There are three categories of stones that an idolater designated for idolatry. Number one, even shechatzava mitchila lebimus. The first is a stone that an idolater originally quarried to serve as a pedestal for an idol. That is, it was carved out of the mountain for the purpose of serving as a stand for the idol, which is to be worshipped along with the idol. This stand, the idol is on top of it, so the idol together with the stand becomes an entity of Avodah Zarah. Such a case, Arezu Asura, is completely forbidden. A Jew cannot remove this prohibition. Why? Because carving the stone out of the mountain is considered making the stone. Making the stone. So since the stone was originally quarried to be worshipped as an idol, it becomes also immediately. And there's no way that a Jew can make it permitted. Just like with a house. That's a tushtel to the house. Just like with a house. If the idolater intended that the pedestal serve only as a stand for the idol, rather than intending it to be worshipped, it does not become also until the idol is worshipped. Now, what else is with this stone? Number one, even shechatzva mitchila lebimus, areza asura. Number two, sida v'chira l'shem avodah zarah. The second is, if a stone was originally quarried for some other purpose, and an idolater plastered it, decorated it, embellished it, put all sorts of images on it for the sake of being worshipped as an idol, v'chidesh, or if he added something to it with the intention of it being an Avodah Zarah. So again, just like with the house, no yitel mashachidesh. The halacha is that the Jew may remove whatever the idolater added, and then it's permissible for him to benefit from the stone, since the stone itself was not quarried for the sake of idolatry. Again, just like with the additions made to the house, for the purpose of worshiping the house as an idol, So with the house we saw, remove the additions, the house is mutter. And the third Lagabe the stone is Emid Aleh Avodah Zarah. The third is if a stone was originally quarried for some other purpose, and an idolater used it as a temporary platform to put an idol on it without the stone being worshipped. The stone is not worshipped. Vesilka, and then he removed the idol from the stone. Areze muteres. The stone is permitted for benefit, mutar behano, because it was never permanently designated for idolatry. Again, just like with a house. Just like with a house in which an idol was placed and then removed, here too, the stone is prohibited for benefit as long as the idol is there. The idol is not there, the stone is permitted completely. And finally, the third category says the Mishnah, Sholosh Asheros Hen. There are three categories of Asherah trees with regard to whether a Jew can make it permissible to have benefit from them. Number one, Elon Shidito Mitchilo Lashem Avodah Zarah. The first is a tree that an idolater originally planted for the sake of idolatry. We already learned this previously. Areza also. Asherah is also completely also. A Jew cannot remove this prohibition once the goy planted the tree for the sake of Avodah Zarah. Again, just like with a house that was built originally for the sake of being a mokum Avodah Zarah, as an idol, and a stone that was quarried originally for the sake of being worshipped, also can't be removed. Second situation is Gidoi upislo l'shem Avodah Zarah. The second is a tree was planted for a permissible purpose, not for Avodah Zarah. A tree was planted for the sake of a tree. But an idolater came along and cut it or pruned it, intending for the new growth to be worshipped as an idol, or ve'echlif, and it grew anew, new growth came forth. No, the Jew removed the new growth, and he may then benefit from the tree itself, because the tree itself was not planted for the sake of Avodah Zarah. And the third is the third is if the tree was planted for a permissible purpose. Tree was planted for the sake of a tree, nothing to do with Avodah Zarah. And then came an Avodah Zarah and put an idol under it temporarily, ubitla, and he then removed the idol from under the tree. So just like by the house and just like by the stone, areza mutar. The law is that the tree is permitted because it was never permanently designated as an accessory to the Avodah Zarah, to the idol. Now the Mishnah continues, and it continues with the notion that it was known to the Tanoim that one of the cases of the Asherah tree was the subject of a dispute. One of the three situations. So the Mishnah explores this. What is notun b'machloikis? Which of these cases is notun b'machloikis? Says the Mishnah, Ezo Asherah. Which of the cases mentioned is the Asherah that is the subject of a dispute? Ezo Asherah. What is there a machloikis about in Asherah? Says the Mishnah, Kol sheyesh tachtei Avodah Zarah. It is the last category that we just mentioned, which is that any tree that has an idol under it, so the Tanakama holds that the tree is mutter only once the idol is removed, and until it is removed, the tree is also. Rab Shimon Omer, but Rab Shimon disagrees and says, Kol she'oiv dimoisa, any tree that is worshipped is forbidden. Any tree that is worshipped is forbidden. But a tree with an idol under it is not considered an Asherah at all, and is permitted for benefit even while the idol is still there, says Rab Shimon. Even while the idol is still there, the tree is not in Avodah Zarah. The tree was never planted in Avodah Zarah. The only thing which is Avodah Zarah is the idol under it. So the idol under it is also, but not the tree. According to Rab Shimon, according to the Tanakama, Kol sheyesh tachtei Avodah Zarah. Now the Mishnah records a Maaseh, an actual situation that occurred, in which Rab Shimon, who is the Mekil, applies his ruling, and that is Maaseh b'tzaydon be'ilon shoyo oiv dinoisoy. Take, indeed, there was a situation, there was an incident in the city of Tzidon where there was a tree that was being worshipped, such as by bowing down in front of it, and umotzu tachtav gal, they found a mound of rocks under it. Amalem Rab Shimon, so Rab Shimon said to them, to his Talmidim, Bitko esagalaze, check this mound to see what is buried in it. What's in and around this mound? So ubedaku, and they checked it. Umotzu botzura, and they found an image in it. Amar lehem, so Rab Shimon said to them, you see, oil velatzura hin ovdin, since the idolaters are worshipping the image, not the tree itself. Natir lahen es ha'ilon. We will therefore permit the Yidden around, we will permit the Jews around to have direct benefit from the tree. The tree was not worshipped. Okay.